This is how to assemble an Ikelite SLR housing before going for a dive. I'm applying a little bit of grease to the port body O-ring here, making sure it's clean and nice and thinly coated with grease, as well as the sealing surface. You have to make sure there's no grit or hairs or anything trapped under the O-ring or stuck to the O-ring. And on the thread that screws into the 8-inch dome, this is the 8-inch dome port. Make sure that the thread is clean and slightly greased. Also seals with an O-ring in this area. So then we screw the port body into the dome. This port body is the correct one for my 18 to 55mm Nikon lens, which works quite well underwater. These are the 4 port locks on the new updated Ikelite housing, much more secure than the previous 2 locks. Just cleaning the O-ring sealing surface on the front of the housing. Now the back door O-ring, also cleaning the O-ring sealing surface. And adding a tiny bit of grease to my finger and rubbing it around, then spreading it over the O-ring. You'd really just need to make it shiny. And you probably don't need to use grease at all on this O-ring because it acts like a gasket. But you do need to make sure it's clean. Now I'm slipping the zoom collar onto the zoom ring of the lens so that you can operate it in the housing. Just screwing on a plus diopter. I'm using a +4 with this one, but it will work fine without any diopters, but the +4 lets you get a lot closer. Connecting the flash connector to the hot shoe. Putting the camera into the housing body. It's a bit of a jiggle to get it in there. You may have to move some of the controls to get them out of the way. Attaching the latches and closing them over and making sure they're locked. Pull them open again to try and to make sure that they're actually not just sitting there. They are actually locked. Now this is the zoom ring that slots into the 2 little lugs on that springy collar that we put on the lens just before. And make sure that the little cog is meshed. That's working well. You just push the dome into the housing, making sure the O-ring is in position, and then push in the 4 port locks to hold it in. Make sure they're actually locked down, not just halfway pushed in. Yep, that's good, that's in position. And the zoom lens is still zooming. Now we're connecting the strobe arms and the dual sync cord. A little bit of O-ring grease on the sync cord plug O-ring and the socket sealing surface. These in-on sync cord plugs are quite fiddly. They're basically circular with just a tiny little cutout to match up with a little brass pin, so you really have to make sure they're in the correct position. And the other side, and then plugging the other end into the housing, which is a lot easier to locate correctly. And clicking the focus torch on top. The mount at the top of the housing is a new addition to the upgraded housing, and just checking that everything is working and you are actually recording an image. There we are, all finished. Good idea to just check all that again before you jump in the water.